to deal with that orientation stuff again. Device locked. Orientation. You better work. Tired of that. Alrighty. Alright, we are live. Scout Team Sports. I am your host, DeValian, and we are getting into it for this weekend. Hope you've had a good week. If you got through it and you got to the weekend, there's something to look forward to. Hope that you have fun this weekend. I'm definitely going to maximize the best that I can this weekend and having fun and doing things that I want to do here. And we're starting off with this podcast, which is, again, Scout Team Sports. I'm your host, DeValian. If you are not subscribed, please consider subscribing, as well as I do thank you. Even if you're just viewing and you're not subscribed, I still appreciate you for watching the show. Spread this to other sports fans who are in love with the game of football and basketball primarily. And that's what I cover. But because it's football season, and I get the basketball season is underway, NBA and college basketball, but we're going to focus still heavily on football right now, covering NFL and college sports. We'll start with college sports and just go through the featured 25 in terms of like marquee matchups for this week in particular. I will say it is odd because Oklahoma is 6th ranked. They are down 14-7 against Kansas. They are on the road at Kansas, and they are down 14-7 right now. I'm thinking they will come back. So I'm not too worried about Oklahoma. No anything else notable. I mean, Florida State is already up 10-0 on Wake Forest. That's 4th ranked Florida State. They shouldn't have too much problem there. 10th ranked Penn State, tied 7-7 with Indiana. They should take care of that. Not too concerned about that as far as an upset. You do have both with one loss apiece in the Pac-12, 8th ranked Oregon against 13th ranked Utah. They have yet to kick off, but they should be kicking off soon. And then, of course, you got number 1 ranked Georgia, 7-0, going up against a 5-2 Florida team. So, I mean, I think it won't be easy for them, but I still think that they will definitely win. You got 7th ranked Texas taking on BYU. Don't see too much problem there. Really surprised with Notre Dame. They're 14th ranked. I think they should technically be lower than that, but especially with 2 losses. But nevertheless, 14th ranked, 6-2 Notre Dame hosting Pittsburgh today. 20th ranked Duke on the road at 18th ranked Louisville. Other than that, not too many other marquee matchups. I am very impressed with Washington, especially with them taking down Oregon a couple weeks back. 7-0, and they're on the road against Stanford. Ohio State is on the road against a 5-2 Wisconsin team. That should be interesting. And then North Carolina, after suffering their first loss, which I was very surprised by. I thought they were going to take it last week, but North Carolina on the road, 17th ranked North Carolina on the road against Georgia Tech. And that is pretty much it as far as marquee matchups, other than, what we're going to feature, of course, and that is the illustrious Coach Prime and Colorado, as they are on the road facing UCLA today. That's later on at 4:30 because it's Pacific time. And we're just going to break down the tail of the tape. Like I said on my midweek scramble, my midweek scramble was undecided, but I got to break down the tail of the tape here. So we go to Colorado and UCLA. They're about the same as far as averaging points per game. Colorado at 34, UCLA at 31. Colorado has more passing yards, averaging more passing yards, nearly 400 at 393 still. With UCLA being at 269. Of course, we know that Colorado pretty much just has a passing game, and that's about it. They have to work on getting the running game, which means the O-line and D-line, which most people and even Coach Prime has talked about needs to get better. And I don't think that'll probably happen till off-season recruiting. But yeah, just 86 rushing yards, averaging to 215 for UCLA. When you go to the defense, that's also a weakness for Colorado. They're averaging, giving up 35 points a game. UCLA is only averaging 14.9, so about 15 points a game. And then you go to the stats for the yardage. UCLA is only giving up 237 yards average to Colorado's 329. And then rushing yards, 68 yards given up average by UCLA to Colorado's 157. And you can tell that, for the most part, most colleges are still not running the ball that much. Some are, but not many. It's mostly a passing league. But you look at UCLA and what they can do, they're more balanced. Over 200 yards averaging for running and passing. Colorado's just over the top because even though they have Dylan Edwards, who is a very fast speed back, they can't run between the tackles and they don't seem to be able to be effective outside of the tackles. And so Dylan Edwards is used more in the passing game than in any type of creative run game that they could use. And then, of course, they have wide receivers that are emerging as young stars. So it's really just a passing game, no running game, and then no defense. It's very hard for Shedeur to do it all by himself. He can't do it all by himself. He might be able to win the Heisman. Even if he puts up good numbers, he could still possibly win the Heisman. But if you're talking about winning a shootout every week, or you got to win a low-scoring game, and I like the fact that Travis Hunter is back and Shiloh is healthy, but they were up 29-0 against the Stanford team 2 weeks ago, and they let them all the way back in. And you can't, that's all on the defense. And I'll tell you why, because you know how I say, well, if a team comes all the way back and the offense isn't scoring anymore in the second half, that's not all on the defense fault, that's the offense. Well, Colorado is different. Their offense continued to score in the second half. They continued to score in the second half, and they lost a high-scoring game up in the 40s. So that was all on the defense because the offense didn't stop scoring. They didn't just stop at 29-0 and didn't score at all in the second half. They took it even to overtime. And the offense continued to score, but the defense was the one who let them all the way back in. Even in college, I get it is more competitive. Defenses on average are not as good, but still, you got a 4-touchdown, not a 3, a 4-touchdown lead. You cannot give that up. You cannot give it up, especially when your offense is continuing to put points on the board to try to extend the lead, to try to prevent them from coming back. So the offense didn't just leave you high and dry, Colorado defense. The offense continued to score, and you didn't hold up your end of the bargain. So with that being said, I really want to pick Coach Prime. I really want to pick Shedeur because, maybe Shedeur, they just light it up and they can win a shootout. You're not going to win a shootout every week, but maybe every other week you can. But it's hard because of the stats. It's hard to go against UCLA right now. And, you think about this season and this being the last time that they're in the Pac-12. I didn't think it was going to be this rough before the season started in terms of this. They still have 3 ranked teams to face after this. They still have Utah. They still have Washington. Well, Washington State dropped out, I think, of the top 25. And I'm like, so this would be 1, 2, and 3. I was counting Washington State before they dropped out of the top 25. But they still have several ranked teams that they have to face this year. And that's looking kind of rough because the only ranked team that they've beaten so far was the first game of the season when they beat TCU. So, yeah, it's tough. I would have had more confidence had they beaten Stanford last 2 weeks ago before their bye, because at least, okay, every now and then the defense can show that it can rise up and handle business. The only time that the defense has really handled business was against Nebraska. And we all knew that Nebraska really didn't have much of an offense. So, really, was it really that hard for them compared to every other game? I get Oregon, USC, I get, with Caleb Williams. But other than that, they should only have 2 losses right now. I would say only to Oregon and USC. And even USC, they could have came back, but it was just too little, too late, and giving up too many points. But yeah, you're going up against these Titans in the Pac-12, and it's weird. You got all these ranked teams in the Pac-12, and they're all leaving. It's weird, but it's beyond that. It's more about money. I get it, but yeah, it's hard. I really want to. I'm hoping that I'm wrong, but I'm picking UCLA to win this game. I'm hoping that I'm wrong because I love Coach Prime. His son's got the right attitude. Travis Hunter is I think is going to really be special throughout his collegiate career, as well as the rest of his collegiate career, as well as at the pro level. But I think is rough, especially when Prime doesn't have the offensive line or, in my opinion, the defensive line that he needs to be successful. Yeah, I'll be biased, a little bit biased in terms of all the cliches that go around in football and say linemen win games. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely true. I mean, they yes, they are 4-3, so they got 4 wins. So the offensive line and defensive line had to do something in order to help out. But when you talk about going up against the elite and being where Coach Prime wants to get his team to be, I mean, yeah, it's the first season. I get it. So I'm not expecting, miracles and whatnot. But the offensive line, defensive line, you have to be better at in that regard, or else you can't protect Shador. You can't get pressure on the quarterback, the opposing quarterback. And they talk about that all the time in the pros, of why that's so important. You need to have a quarterback, you need to protect the quarterback, and you need guys to get after the other team's quarterback. If you don't have those three, you're not going to be a successful team in the pros, in the NFL. I would say that's the same in college too, because of the way the game is now. I mean, pretty much any really good running back is going to be used in the passing game. If you're talking about just running between the tackles, you stack 8 in the box, and for the most part, you haven't seen too many elite running backs who can just terrorize a team putting 8 in the box at the college level in recent memory. So other than that, it's about stopping the passing game. It's about stopping the passing game because even, like I said, in college, most teams aren't running that much. So, every now and then a running back gets a breakout gets a breakout run, a home run ball for like 60, 70-yard rushing, but that doesn't happen nearly as often as it used to because teams just aren't running the ball as much. Less attempts means less possibility for the home run ball to happen, for high rushing yards to happen. So with that being said, yeah, I got to pick UCLA here. But like I said, I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping Colorado still wins and they still turn it out. And maybe Shador just puts it on his back again and he wins and gets closer towards that Heisman. At the bare minimum, for me, as long as Coach Prime and the boys get to a bowl game and win a bowl game, I'm happy for this first year. I think that's a success. Where they started from, where they came from last year, 1-11, the worst, the bottom of the bottom in the Pac-12, and just for them to get to 3-0 and now to 4-3 is still much better than probably anybody else expected. Still got several games to go. I do think a couple of them are winnable. The only one that I'm like I just don't see it is against Utah. After this, I think they could beat Washington State. I think they can beat Arizona. Arizona, but they beat Arizona State already. But yeah, I think the couple games are winnable, and then, like I said, the only one that's not winnable is the Utah right now. But who's to say what they can do? You never know. You never know. So we're gonna go to I want to look at the rest of that schedule here. And then we're going to go to that, let's see, Colorado football schedule and pull up the schedule here. Be sure to subscribe to the Scout Team Sports Podcast. Appreciate everybody for chilling and watching and listening. I had that up. Okay, that'll work. Yeah, so Arizona, so that's who they haven't faced yet. So, one of the teams they haven't faced yet. So we've got UCLA right now. Oregon State. Yeah, I don't. 11th ranked Oregon State, and they got them at home. That's gonna be rough. I don't think they're gonna beat Oregon State. They should beat Arizona. So say if they lose to UCLA, that makes them 4-4. They lose to Oregon State, that's 4-5. They beat Arizona, 5-5. I'll say they beat Washington State, 6-5, and then lose to Utah, 6-6. That's going to be rough because then they'd be on the bubble as far as getting into a bowl game. I'd say they'd be better off getting to 7-5. Yeah, I think it's possible. It's definitely possible, but I would say that's worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, they're 6-6, I think. And so that means out of these last three ranked teams, they're going to have to pull one out. They're going to have to beat either UCLA today. They're going to have to beat Oregon State, 11th ranked Oregon State, currently 11th ranked Oregon State, or currently 13th ranked Utah, which I believe Oregon State and Utah will probably be ranked in the top 25 all the way to the end. So I really think their best bet is to beat UCLA today. Out of those three teams, I'm going to give them the win against Arizona. I'm going to give them the win against Washington State. And I'm going to say of the three ranked teams that they have to face still today, UCLA, Oregon State, and Utah, they got to beat one. I think their best bet is to beat UCLA. I'm really not seeing them beat Oregon State or Utah. So they beat UCLA today, and they at least get Arizona and Washington State. That'll put them at 7-5 for the season. And that should more than likely definitely get them into a bowl game. I just want them to get into a bowl game and win this season. I want them to get into a bowl game, win, and Coach Prime take home some hardware, especially before, if there's any type of breakup, like, as far as Shador possibly going to the pros, or Shiloh tries to go, or Travis Hunter tries to go. I want them to at least finish the season together, go to a bowl game and win a bowl game together before anything like that possibly happens. That's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, so at least I'm saying worst case scenario 6-6. They still could get into a bowl game, but I think for sure to get in a bowl game they need to go 7-5, not be on the bubble like that, on the 6-6 bubble. Get to 7-5. They should get to a bowl game, and they win the bowl game as long as they have the big three still together. And so that's what I'm hoping for. And so now we will go ahead and get on to the pros here. And we'll get on to the pros and a short recap of the Thursday night football game. I predicted that one correctly on the midweek scramble every Wednesday night, the YouTube short I put up Wednesday night. And that was the Bills beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers on a 4-game losing streak after starting the season 3-0. So I was thinking, okay, they're going to compete for that NFC South title for sure. And now they are on a 4-game skid. It's not like they're that far behind the Saints at all, but the Falcons are really surprising me. Like I said, I still believe in running game and defense, but with all the rules benefiting the offense, you have to have something of a passing game. And it seems like the Falcons are getting by without that, which is amazing in this league. I don't know if that's sustainable long term, but the Falcons are seeming like they are emerging as the best team possibly in the NFC South. So surprised about that. Like I said, I didn't expect the Bills to be 5-3. I figured maybe, I could see that one loss against Miami, because Miami is very, very good. But other than that, I'm like, especially after that collapse against the Patriots, like all three of their losses are division losses. So they're all. I'm just thinking about this. There's only 4 teams in every division, and the Bills are 0-1 against every team in their division. They lost to the Jets, they lost to the Dolphins, they lost to the Patriots. So they may be 5-3, but division-wise, they're at the bottom of the barrel. That's crazy. I remember the Raiders doing that one year, and it was just the weirdest thing. I'm like, how in the world are we? It was the actual opposite. The Raiders were 8-0 against division. Oh no, 6-0 because it was 3 teams. They were 6-0, or was that before the merger? They were undefeated against the AFC West. They swept the Chiefs, they swept the Broncos, they swept the Chargers. But the Chiefs had a better overall record, and the Chiefs went to the playoffs, got trounced by the Ravens in the first round, and the Raiders didn't make the playoffs. I was like, how does this happen? And now it's like the opposite here, where the Bills are 5-3. And they're competing with Miami at the top. The Jets are a little bit behind. And the Patriots are at the bottom. And they're 5-3, but they're 0-3 in the division. Like, explain that to me, Buffalo. Explain that to me. How do you do that? And just the fact that they could still possibly win the division, even if their division record is less than 500 out of 6 games. So that is weird. But yeah, it's like you want to put your arms around the Bills, and it's like, okay, the 4 back in the day, if anybody remembers, the 4 AFC Championship wins and 4 straight Super Bowl appearances and all 4 losses, and now finally getting yourself a franchise quarterback again. And yeah, but every time it seems like they on their way, then they run into Pat Mahomes, and then it's over. And then this time it seems like, or last year, they were on their way again, and then they get stopped by Joe Burrow. And then it's like, okay, they're looking good again, and then they have the most questionable losses in the NFL. The most questionable, head-scratching losses are the Bills, hands down. Like, there's games that you're expecting them to win because they are clearly the better team, and they lose them. No other team is doing that as bad as the Bills are. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't. If the talent is there, maybe it's the coaching. I don't like, the fact that they did lose Tre'Davious White again after him coming back, and I hate it for him after coming back from injury and then getting that, not even getting hit or anything like that, but getting that ACL tear or that Achilles tear, taking him out for the season again. And not only, not being with the team, but jeopardizing his career after coming back from injury and then getting re-injured again. Really, really hate that for him. But yeah, I mean, I figure, and then it's like they pay Von Miller all that money, and then he ain't even there. I just don't get it, Bills. I don't get it. Yeah, it seems like it's almost like those years back when they were winning the AFC Championship, going to the Super Bowl. Now it's like, okay, they're doing the same thing, but just a little bit less. They're getting to the playoffs every year because they're one of the top 7 teams in the league, but then that's it. And yeah, I mean, eventually that luck is gonna run out, and then you're gonna be at the bottom of the barrel when other teams decide to rise up and get better. I mean, the Dolphins are already doing that. And then the Jets are trying to, they probably would be even better than what they are right now if Aaron Rodgers was actually playing. But yeah. So we're moving on to the rest of the games here. And we're starting off with on Sunday, 10 a.m., the morning games. No London games today, mate. Okay, did I just mix British and Australian? I'm sorry. Texans at Panthers. I'm going to pick the Texans in this one. It just only because it's like, I would like to see Bryce Young, how he would do with a better team around him. But, he knew the deal coming in. But what I didn't expect was for the Texans to have so much better of a support system around C.J. Stroud. Like, I didn't think that I thought he was going to struggle just as much as Bryce Young was because he wouldn't have a team around him. And he's got something around him. He's got something around him much better than what Bryce Young does. So, yeah, I mean, definitely picking the Texans here. Not too much to think about. Picking the Texans over the Panthers. Got to remember to sit up here and not be down here. Next, we've got Rams at Cowboys. This is a tricky one because, you know what the Cowboys defense can do. They are, I don't care what anybody says about next man up and stuff. They are weaker without Trayvon Diggs. That is a blow, especially in a passing league. And now possibly the best defensive back that you have is a veteran who's had injuries, who was with the Patriots for so long, and now is just, he's kind of a shell of himself. If that's the best that you got, I mean, the Rams and, Stafford and Cooper Kupp they got to go over the top. And I don't know how much Micah Parsons is going to be rushing the passer or defending in the passing game. But, a defense as good as the defense is of the Cowboys, if they don't have an offense that can toe the line, then, I mean, Aaron Donald is there. He's waiting to get after Dak. And yeah, technically they're ranked 19th. So overall, their defense is weaker than what it was, definitely 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl. So this, like I said, this one's tricky. This one is tricky because the Cowboys offense they just use your head scratching. And then the Rams are like, they can do it offensively in the passing game. They don't really have too much of a rushing game. Although they're 13th in rushing, I still don't really trust their rushing attack consistently. But I mean, if anything, that's what the Cowboys defense, I would think, would want to do, is shut down their rushing attack, which they should be able to do, and then just force it to be on Matthew Stafford in the passing game. And if all he really has is Cooper Kupp, to me, I think the Cowboys defense can handle that, especially if the Rams are trying to come from behind and trying to win. With that being said, I gotta go Rams in this one. I really don't want to. I think the Cowboys are the better team. I really do think that the Cowboys are the better team. But I know what happened last week, but I need to see consistency against a tough team. They may be 3-4, the Rams, but they're a tough team. I need to see Dak Prescott do consistently good. It's not just enough for him to do good 1 week. And anybody who knows the Chargers, I know the Chargers better than anybody because they're a division rival. I know the Chargers are hot and cold at best. I've been saying the Chargers defense is shaky at best, up and down, hot, cold for the last 3 years, ever since Justin Herbert's been there. And they always say that's probably the reason why he's only gotten to the playoffs, and then in the playoffs they got embarrassed by the Jaguars after being up 31-0. Yeah, defense. So Dak doing good against the Chargers defense, it's good because you are at the pro level, but I need to see consistency against the middle of the barrel. I ain't even talking about the elite teams in the NFL, just the middle of the pack teams. I need to see consistency for Dak Prescott. And whether it's him or if he's not getting any help from the running game, or if CeeDee Lamb isn't on, and then he's got to rely on other receivers that he doesn't trust as much, then what does he do? Can he will this team to at least 3 touchdowns? Like I said, if you don't get, I'm not talking about special teams, you don't count special teams, you don't count field goals, you don't count defensive touchdowns. As an offense by yourself, you have to be able to get 3 touchdowns a game. If you cannot average 3 touchdowns a game, 3 drives out of all the drives that you have in a game, if you can't get 3 of those drives into the end zone, as an offense, you're not a good offense. And the Cowboys are ranked 24th overall as far as offense. 24th in passing, that's Dak's specialty. and then 16th in rushing. So I need to see consistency. The Chargers can be beaten because their defense comes to play about half the time, and half the time their defense doesn't. And then if it's all on Justin Herbert, I know a lot of people, a lot of the talking heads would talk about, oh, it's not Justin Herbert's fault, it's everybody else's fault. No, sometimes it's Justin Herbert too. Sometimes sometimes it's his fault. Sometimes he's not making the right read. Sometimes he's holding the ball too long. But he is still a good quarterback. I'm not going to call him great. I'm not going to call him elite yet, especially because they can never seem to beat the Chiefs, not even get close to them. Like, you believe that they're about to win this game, and then something happens, the defense gives up a score or something like that at the end of the game. No, they're just never in it against the Chiefs. They're always looking up to Big Brother. They never have a shot. Even the Raiders have beaten the Chiefs more recently than the Chargers have, and that was during the first pandemic season. So if you take that loss, you take that win that the Cowboys had, you really level it out from what it is against the Chargers. Okay, the Dak has to do the exact same thing. If the defense, the rest of the offense isn't coming to play, like Tony Pollard isn't having a good game, and he's got to put it on his back for the passing game, then he's going to need to get it done against Aaron Donald and that, to me, weaker defense, because they don't have Jalen Ramsey. There's really no emerging star in that secondary of the Rams, in my opinion. The linebacking core is not all that great, and so it's really just getting past that defensive line. And I don't see why the Cowboys shouldn't be able to do that, but I got to see it first. Like I said, I want to pick the Cowboys because I think they're a better team, but I think the Rams are going to take this one. So, prove me wrong, Cowboys. Prove me wrong. Sorry to all my Cowboy fans out there that I know and love. I still love you. But yeah, they gotta show me better. They gotta show me better. Like I said, I know the Chargers, and to me, beating the Chargers right now is not saying much. If you make it consistent against these middle of the pack teams, then I could say something. Just to lose just to the Niners or lose just to other elite teams. Can't forget that Cardinals loss. So you can't be, if you only lose to the elite teams consistently, or even just this season, I'd say this is a win for the Cowboys for sure. But if you, and not even the bottom of the barrel, the middle of the pack teams, the middle of the road, the unelites, if you can't consistently beat them, you're not an elite yourself. You're just not. Just think about, the three best teams. I was always saying three best teams in the NFC: Niners, Eagles, Cowboys. And it's always the Cowboys in third place. Why? Because of that. Yeah, they might have a tough matchup and go toe-to-toe with the Niners and barely lose. And they might go toe-to-toe with the Eagles and win or barely lose. But then you have these games where you're just, and no, you can't say, oh, what about the Niners and what about what they did and what? No, I ain't talking about the Niners and what they did against other teams. I ain't talking about the Eagles and what they did against other teams. I'm talking about y'all. I'm talking about the Cowboys. We're talking about the Cowboys being better. We're talking about the Cowboys being better than what they should be better than what they are. Okay? So that's what we're talking about. But yeah, hope I'm wrong, because like the Cowboys, they're a better team than the Rams to me. But I don't see them winning this game. Moving on, we've got, this is not really a renewed rivalry. Vikings at Packers. With the emergence of the Vikings and that whole thing with Joe Buck and talking about how they were faking injuries at the end of the game, I'm not surprised that they're doing that. They do it I've seen them do it in college. There's that infamous Auburn player that did it. He was in the defensive players in the end zone. He just fell down the end zone. Talking about he injured to get a timeout, and I was like, wow. But yeah, I'm not surprised that the Vikings players are doing that. I would like to think that they need to crack down on that more, because you should be doing that. It's just funny for YouTube, but other than that, it's just like, no, you can't do that. That's part of you being a pro. That's part of you being a professional. Sometimes you don't get to rest. Sometimes you don't get to breathe. And it's like, who wants it more? Who got the most endurance? Who's got the best this? Who's got the best that? You're gonna be faking injuries to give yourself time to rest and or if the Niners want to go hurry up and you want to stop them or whatever the case is. Yeah, but I just think for right now the Vikings seem like they're on the rise. They've got a little bit more juice. I think they win this game because Jordan Love he's just like Jordan Love needs a strong running game. He needs a strong running game to take a lot of the pressure off of him. I think the defense of the Packers can hold their own somewhat if their offense could at least score 3 touchdowns a game. If they could at least score 21 points, I think the Packers D could hold the Vikings under 21 points. I really do. But I don't think that the Packers can score 21 points. So I got to pick the Vikings. So that's what it comes down to. If your offense, like I said, your offense can't score 3 touchdowns, I can't trust you that you're a good offense. The Vikings, for the most part, they haven't consistently been able to score 3 touchdowns either, but they can score 3 touchdowns better than the Packers can. So I'm taking the Vikings over the Packers. Next, you've got Saints at Colts. Heard on the radio how they were saying it's going to be a tough matchup. Look, Anthony Richardson is out for the season as the rookie Colts quarterback. I don't think that I think it was more that he's out. His injury was him being out for the season because they want to shut him down because, I get the surgery and whatnot, but I think they more likely wanted to shut him down because they knew they weren't going to do that much this season. And they just wanted to shut him down to preserve him for the future. He probably could have still played, but then it would have made the injury probably worse. So that's what it is. But if you're talking about Garner Minshew going up against the Saints D, I'm picking the Saints D. And notice I didn't even mention Derek Carr as part of the win. But regardless of what Derek Carr does, they should get the win. Because even though I do put some stock in the Colts defense, the Colts defense is probably going to be the one that's on the field for so long. They're going to get tired because their offense isn't helping them out. And then the Saints and Derek Carr just eventually wear them down. And this will probably be a win under 20 points for both teams. I don't see either of these teams scoring more than 20 points in this game. But I'll pick the Saints with a better starting quarterback. We know how that goes. You know that's not a guarantee. But this time I'll go with Derek Carr and the Saints over the Indianapolis Colts. Then you got these old Patriots beating the Bills last week. The Bills. What's going on, the Bills? The Bills. What is going on? But, okay, you had your time. I'm not talking about you anymore. Patriots at Dolphins. I'm going to pick the Dolphins in this one. They're not going to I don't see them laying an egg against the Patriots like the Bills did. You just got too much firepower on offense. The defense can hold their own against Mac Jones, the Dolphins D. So I definitely see them winning this football game. Tyreek Hill, you got Julio now for insurance in case Jalen Waddle still can't go. But yeah, I see the Dolphins winning this one. And it looks like, they're only 1 game ahead, but, they look like a front runner in the division, especially when the Bills have performances like they did last week. So definitely picking, not much to talk about, definitely picking in every aspect. They're better, I think, offense, defense, special teams. The only thing that they're not better in is coaching. But coaching can only do so much because coaches don't play on the field. They can guide, but you have to do the work. And 2-5 is not impressive in any means, even for Bill Belichick. I don't care about him getting a contract extension or whatnot. So what? That doesn't mean anything. Just because he's a great coach and he beat the Bills. The Bills are weird this year. So, trying to stop talking about it. I said we we're going to talk about it anymore. But yeah, picking the Dolphins over the Patriots. Next, we've got Jets at Giants. Yeah, Danny Dimes and them are in shambles, and rightfully so because they paid the wrong guy. Even with Zach Wilson, I trust this Jets defense to go into, they're basically at home. It's a home game for both teams. But I am trusting the Jets defense to go in there and just torture and terrorize Danny Dimes. That's what I'm thinking. Even though their offense is bad, the Giants' offense is bad too, though. So you got a 30th ranked offense in the Jets and a 25th ranked offense in the Giants. Not saying much. Then you get to the defense. Jets got a 12th ranked defense and Giants have 26th ranked defense. The Jets have no passing game, 32nd, dead last as of right now. Giants are 25th. Rushing attacks are respectively 17th and 18th, so that's about even. So if you just go by that, and you go by both teams have a running game, I'll say neither one has a passing game, then it comes down to the defense. Danny Dimes is going to have a much tougher time against that Jets defense, which enables Zach Wilson, even though he's not that good, should enable Zach Wilson to do okay enough to get enough points on the board, and they should beat the Giants. This is probably going to be another game where it's going to be under 21 points or under 20 points for both teams. I don't see either team being spectacular offensively in this game. But in a under 20-point game, I'm picking the Jets over the Giants, whom they share a stadium with. Next, we got Jaguars at Steelers. The Steelers, oh my goodness. They're one that's like, even with a subpar quarterback, they're winning games at 4-2. At 4-2, the Steelers are competing for the division title. What? I was like, they're supposed to be bottom of the barrel this year. And it's the Bengals instead. Yeah. That to me now, when we talk about the Steelers, to me that's all coaching, because we know that Tomlin's a defensive coach, and the defense is only ranked 20th. The offense is 31st. How in the world you got 4 wins out of 6 games, 4 wins with a 31st ranked offense? How? And only a 20th ranked defense. Your offense is weak. How do you have 4 wins? It's because, they beat the Raiders, and the Raiders are horrible and should be better than what they are, and then they always lay an egg when they shouldn't. Don't even get me started on what I got to talk about the last game. But you see how that works my nerves? You see, it's just not good for me. It's not good for me. Okay, we're moving on. Jaguars are better offensively, 12th ranked offense. Offense is 11th in passing, 12th in rushing. Even though their defense is 27th, really, what can the Steelers do? The Steelers need to win every game under 20 points. To me, they they could possibly win a game where it's like 24-21 or something like that, but their ideal games are going to be under 20 points, and they win the football game. If the Steelers D cannot hold the Jaguars offense to less than 3 touchdowns, Steelers can't win this game. Because they cannot, like I said, every now and then they may rise up, but for the most part, the Steelers offense cannot score 3 touchdowns a game. They can't. So, like I said, they're not a good offense. They need the defense to hold another team at bay, and I think the offense of the Jaguars has too much firepower, and even though the defense of the Jaguars is lacking, it's the Steelers' offense. It's hard to trust them consistently, even though, like I said, they're getting wins, they're beating teams, and it's just weird. But I think eventually, against the middle of the pack to elite teams, your luck is going to run out with a much less than subpar offense. So picking the Jaguars here. Picking the Jaguars here over the Steelers. Next, we've got, like I said, the surprise team of the NFC South. I didn't think it would be like this for them right now. That being the Falcons at 4-3 against the 2-4 Titans. I'm hoping that the Titans continue to lose, because Malik Willis should be the quarterback, and Ryan Tannehill doesn't deserve it. He doesn't have the right mentality for a starting quarterback, in my opinion. If they draft a quarterback, doesn't necessarily mean your job is in jeopardy, because they don't know what the young kid has. But I say just go ahead and let Malik Willis start. Let him take his bumps and bruises and trade Ryan Tannehill. Get him out of there. and he'll probably more than likely be a backup for the rest of his career unless there's just some team that just doesn't have a quarterback and they think that a subpar quarterback will be better than what they have. And teams do that all the time. You can see where that, several quarterbacks that they didn't want to pay or didn't want to sign, and they would hire these less than subpar quarterbacks. You know what I'm talking about, and give them these fat contracts, even though they weren't nearly as good as one guy who decided to take a stand for his people. But nonetheless, Falcons over Titans. Picking the Falcons, it'll be running game and defense, and the Titans will have something of a defense, but then if Derrick Henry is not fully healthy, and I don't think they're always upfront and honest about Derrick Henry from week to week and whether or not he is healthy, because sometimes I look at him and he's playing and I'm like, he's not right. He's not right. But he's out there, he's tough, he's doing what he can. He's under contract, he's playing for his team. But there's times that I look at him and he's not right. And if you put 8 in the box and you slow down Derrick Henry and it's on the passing game, I don't trust Ryan Tannehill. So I'm picking the Falcons, even though they don't have that good of a quarterback right now. Desmond Ritter's not able to do what I think he should be able to do. But they are 4-3. I'll pick the Falcons, slightly better team than the Titans. Picking the Falcons over the Titans. Next, you've got Eagles at Commanders. Definitely think the Eagles should win this game. I remember when the Eagles were undefeated last season and the Commanders gave them their first loss. I was like, what? But Taylor Heinicke is not quarterback this go around. So, yeah, and like I said, I continue to hate it for Terry McLaurin. As a wide receiver, I think he is exceptionally special, but he's just on the wrong team for him to shine, really. And I don't get what's up with Ron Rivera and them not going after Cam Newton to make this team better. Yeah, I'm still harping on that because even right now, Cam Newton is a better quarterback than everybody they've had since Ron Rivera has been the head coach. Everybody. Yes, even that guy, Carson Wentz. Come on. Anyway, Eagles over Commanders. They're better in every aspect. Better quarterback, better running game, better passing game, better defense, better ingredients. Papa John's. I said it. Moving on to the Browns and the Seahawks. We're into the afternoon games. Boy, the Browns are something tricky here. Even without Deshaun Watson, they seem to be doing this thing. And then the Seahawks being 4-2, I thought it'd be a little rougher for them this year thus far, but they are pulling it out with both teams being 4-2. Let's go to the tail of the tape. And we get to the offenses. Of course, you know that the offense is going to be very, very hard, difficult for the Browns. Deshaun Watson injured, not injured, injured, not injured. No Nick Chubb. Lost him earlier in the season for the season. But they have the number 1 defense ranked right now. Number 1 defense. Seahawks have the 4th ranked defense, but their offense is 23rd overall. The Browns don't have a passing game, of course. They're still 8th in rushing, so they're gonna pound it out with running game and defense. Like I said, there's only so long that can last before you do need the passing game to do something. But maybe they can hang on until Deshaun Watson gets fully healthy and he's able to do something or some type of glimpse of what he once was. He ain't got to be what he once was. He just has to be like half of that, and he's not even half of that. And yeah, but we'll see. Still a long season to go. But the Seahawks offense, 21st in passing, 22nd in rushing. I think that wins out. I think that will slightly win out because when it comes to that Browns offense, if they're not able to do much against the Seahawks D, then that spells a wrap. Even with what the Browns defense can do, and they are special. But yeah, I'm gonna pick a slightly more balanced team in the Seahawks to beat the visiting Browns. Next we have, come on, don't do that. Okay. Technology. It's great. It's wonderful. But moving on, we've got next Ravens at Cardinals. Ravens should win that one pretty easy. Better quarterback. The running game is still good. And then defense, that's where the Ravens be tripping me out sometimes with their defense. It's like they're good, but then they don't. But then they're good, but then they don't. And they've got to stay on top of it because of the Steelers of all teams and the Browns being right on their heels. Picking the Ravens over the Cardinals, it should be a relatively easy win for them. I know that the Cardinals can come up and rise up and beat a team, and the Ravens seem like they're a team that's susceptible to the same things that the Cowboys are. With losing to a team you definitely should not lose to. But I'm going to go with my head instead of my feelings here and pick the Ravens over the Cardinals. Next, you got Chiefs at Broncos. The Broncos are in shambles, and they're going to probably get torched by Pat Mahomes because before, even last year, I would say the defense was somewhat formidable for the Broncos, and then it was just Russell Wilson couldn't get his head out of his rear end. And so now you've got a poor defense in the Broncos, and that's just you're just giving candy to Pat Mahomes. Like, why are you doing that? Why are you just hey, come just let Pat Mahomes throw the ball against air. That's pretty much what it's gonna be like. Just let him throw the ball against air. But yeah, picking the Chiefs over the Broncos, even if the Broncos could muster up something of an offense, you're not winning the shootout against Pat Mahomes with that type of defense you have. Even if it's a low-scoring game, I trust Pat Mahomes to some way, somehow have the ball in his hands last. And even if they win by a field goal, yeah, I just don't see the Broncos beating Pat Mahomes. I would love to see it happen just for the Raiders' sake, but no. But even then, Raiders' sake, no, forget it. Because I don't want the Raiders being, we've got a chance now because the other team lost. No, I want you to be better because you're better. I want you to win and get into the playoffs because you're better. Because if you get to the playoffs and you don't even face that team that you hope would lose so that you could get in, you're going to get mollywopped by somebody else in the playoffs. So I don't care about that. Not for my team, at least. But yeah, 6-1 Chiefs over the 2-5 Broncos. Then you get to the Bengals at the Niners. This would have been so much more of a marquee matchup if Joe Burrow was fully healthy, could move around. And, I thought, okay, I figured it let him be in there. So I was like, yeah, he might play a little hurt, but okay. He's good enough to be in there, so okay. But it just seems like he can't do anything if he's not able to be mobile. He can't just be a pocket quarterback. Joe Burrow, yeah, he can throw in the pocket. That's not questionable. But being able to move around in the pocket, he has to be able to move around the pocket, possibly have the illusion of scrambling or running or making a play outside of the pocket, scrambling and throwing. He doesn't have that aspect, so it almost seems like he's so limited to, like, he can't just be a lead foot, dead foot pocket quarterback. He can't do that. And that's weird to me because I figured he would be able to do that. Even if he's not able to scramble and run, he would be able to just be a pocket quarterback without the illusion to run, And then the thing is, if they continue to play him and don't rest him, like, he needs to be out for like at least, I would say, 3 weeks. Put him on, like string together 2 games in the bye week, or bye week game, or bye week game, or I would say more likely 2 games in the bye week, and then let him come back after that. Almost like, just let him do that. Let him heal up. But now you're coming into the Niners, and I would not want to be Joe Burrow going up against that Niners D, and I'm not 100%. That's just a recipe for disaster. So definitely picking the 49ers at home to beat the Bengals. Next, you've got the upstart Bears, their backup quarterback, unless Justin Fields is healthy again, going up against the Chargers. Chargers 2-4. I'm surprised they're this bad. I figured inconsistent. Yes, I knew that part. But 2-4, I figured they'd probably be at least 3-3 right now, if not maybe 4-3. Or no, that's wrong. So 3-3 would be 6, or maybe possibly 4-2, like right on the heels of the Chiefs, but still not good as the Chiefs. But 2-4 Chargers hosting 2-5 Bears. Bears got away with what they did against the Raiders because the Raiders are just going backwards all the time, and I don't think they're going to get that against the Chargers. I think because of a better, more stable quarterback, they should edge out a win, even if the Bears try to muster up some type of late run or something like that. I'm picking the Chargers. They're a better team, even with a 2-4 record. Yeah, they don't have the right head coach. Yeah, they made a mistake letting Anthony Lynn go, but that's how it goes, especially in the pros. Especially in the pros with black head coaches. You know black head coaches don't get nearly as long as a leash as their counterparts. So, you made your choice, Chargers, so go ahead and deal with it. But anyway, picking the Chargers to beat the Bears on Sunday Night Football. Who thought that the Bears deserved to be on Sunday Night Football is beyond me. Who? Or maybe they just put it on Sunday Night Football to showcase the Chargers and SoFi Stadium and, oh, the Chargers. Woo! Dude, how many Charger fans are there in LA, really? Really? Just give a ballpark figure. Guess. Just guess. I highly doubt there's that many. I highly doubt there's... Look, the most fans in LA are probably Raiders fans, and they don't even get to have their team there. They got to go to Vegas. Raiders fans outnumber Rams fans, and yet the Rams get a stadium, and the Chargers get the first bid to share it with the Rams instead of the other way. I'm like, go figure. That's how money works. It's not about the fans. It's about money. And now, here we go. Your Monday Night Football matchup. Las Vegas Raiders at Detroit Lions. Let's go to the tail of the tape, shall we? Tail of the tape. Why am I wasting time with this? Lions are going to win. Lions are a better team. I like the Lions. I like what they're doing. I like them as this new team that's going to rise up and win the NFC North for the first time in a long time. Not just make it to the playoff, but win it. To me, it's so much more important for the Lions fans for them to win the division and not just make it in the playoffs. The last few times, and it's been very, very few in the last 20 years, that they made the playoffs, they are even past 20 years, but they would make the playoffs. Of course, they're on the road because they're like the 6th seed or the 5th seed. You know, back when it was only 6 teams in. Now they get an opportunity to be at least the 4th seed, if not 3rd or 2nd or 1st. And so I like it. I really do like it for a team that has been down for so long. But they're better in every aspect here. 5th ranked offense to the Raiders 22nd. 18th ranked defense to the Raiders 17th, so that's neck and neck. But then passing game, they're 5th with Jared Goff too. We don't know who's going to be in from week to week on the Raiders as far as quarterback. And then their rushing is horrible because their offensive line can't block, and Josh Jacobs held out, and so he's just not himself. And I wouldn't expect him to be, especially when they couldn't get a contract together and he signed a 1-year deal, and just so he couldn't be on the franchise tag and whatnot. So, I mean, the Raiders might not even have him after this year, and I hate that. But they're just better in every way. And it sucks because now it's like I said, even with the Raiders, I know my team, most of the money is still being paid to the offense. But yet the defense is the strength of that team. That should not be. Just imagine if the Raiders offense was at least 15th right now. If they were at least middle of the pack in the NFL as far as an offense, with their defense and the way the defense has been playing, if you watch their games, the Raiders would probably be like 4-2, if not. Yeah, they'd probably be 4-2 right now. I'd say 4-2, but they got 7 games because they haven't had their bye. So I'd say probably 5-2. At the least, the Raiders would be 5-2 right now if they had a halfway decent offense. But they don't. So picking the Lions, like I said, happy for the Lions. On Monday Night Football, I guess they figured it was going to be Jimmy G versus Jared Goff, and so that'd be a great matchup. Maybe Jimmy G plays, maybe he doesn't. He's made of glass. We never know if he's even going to finish a game. And then Brian Hoyer is horrible, and so let's go to Aiden O'Connell with this coaching staff and this head coach and this GM. Las Vegas Patriots. So picking the Lions over the Raiders. And that will conclude our podcast for this week. I am your host, DeValian, with Scout Team Sports, the Scout Team Sports podcast. Appreciate everyone for subscribing and listening and viewing. And please continue to check out the Midweek Scramble, posted every Wednesday night to Thursday morning. And we'll see you next week on Saturday. This one coming up. I'll be out of town, but it will be probably pre-recorded. I'll do a pre-recorded for that one and make sure that it airs for you guys, okay? So again, this is DeValue with Scout Team Sports. Believe until you stop breathing, and we'll see you next week.